Welcome back everyone to my Let's Play of Final Fantasy II for the Nintendo Famicom system. It's time for Fess, Maxine, Booker, and their old friend Leon to finally explore Castle Pandemonium. They stepped foot into the castle after completing the Jade Passage a few episodes ago, but they didn't do any exploration in it. Instead they warped out, went back to Mysidia, got some supplies to finish off this push to find the Emperor and make him pay for all his crimes. So, the dungeon isn't all that bad. It's pretty straightforward. At one point we're going to get to an area, a big large room that's going to have 4 doors to choose from. 3 of them just lead to really good treasure, one's the one that leads forward. That's the only maybe confusing part of the dungeon, and even then it's not that bad, because if you take the wrong doorway, the place where it takes you to is pretty small, and you're going to get some good treasure out of it. That's the treasure is basically the Genji armor, which is the best defensive armor in the game, but it's really, really heavy, so it kills your evasion. Leon may get a piece or 2 of it, but we'll see. But our main characters, Fess, Maxine, and Booker, because we're so worried about their evasion, they won't be using any of that Genji gear. So, good place to build up your stats. All the enemies are either rank 6 or 7, so like I said, strongest in the game. But then again, we've never been stronger either, so the Jade Passage sets up pretty well for this section, so. But there were still a few new enemies that we have to encounter here, including the optional super boss, but he doesn't appear until we get to the room that I talked about, the large room with the 4 doors in it. Once we get to that room, he can appear on that floor, in any of the rooms, and on the next 2 floors, but in all those areas he's only 1 in 64 chance. So some of the other enemies we will be encountering here are those mini-bosses that we encountered in treasure chests, including ones in the Jade Passage, so you can run into King Behemoths, all the different colored dragons, the red, green, blue, and white. So yeah, the Emperor saved his best minions for last, but Fess, Maxine, Booker, they have the support of all the Marty Mouse House minions, so we know that they will prevail. May take them a little while though, so like I said, the dungeon may not be very confusing, but it is kind of long, especially when you add in the Jade Passage with it. That's why it's important to have you know, all those elixirs to heal yourself up, and particularly your white mage, whoever your white mage is. In our case, it's Fess. So here's one new enemy, the mythical golem. Like the other golems, has really high defense. The other 2 golems were the stone and the wood, but it also has a weakness. In this case, the mythical golem is weak to lightning, but we won't necessarily be using a lot of lightning against it. We'll be trying to build up our skills. Fess still trying to build up that holy to level 8. Maxine can work her flare spell. That was probably a mistake getting that. If I had to redo this again, I probably wouldn't get the flare. I probably would just, like I said, because I didn't have enough time necessarily to work it up to a point where it would be much better than the elemental spells. So, yeah, it's it has twice the power of the elemental spells with 20 base power, where the elementals are 10. But if you have all your elemental spells worked up pretty high, most of the time you're going to find an enemy that has some elemental weakness that you can exploit and would do better than Flare. So, but hey, maybe one someday I'll replay the game again, and once I run out of titles to play. But like I said, that doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon, because I have a ton of games still to go, and I don't really play them play all that much, so you know, half an hour to an hour a day at most. So I have a bunch of other things that keep myself occupied, so including doing my writing. I have a writers conference coming up this weekend, so hopefully pitch my book to some agents, and maybe get some reward for all the hard work that I've been putting in throughout the years doing all my writing. So be nice to be in print. So, but enough about that. Don't want to put too many eggs in a basket, or make too premature of an announcement, I guess. I don't know about that egg in the basket. That's probably a bad analogy. But yeah, I don't want to get too hyped up over it, you know. If it comes, it comes. So just gotta keep working hard, like everything, you know. You want something, you just gotta keep working at it, you know. Working and improving, you know, slow and steady improvements, just like how Fess, Maxine, and Booker slowly and steadily improved over the course of this playthrough. Got better, and now hard challenges for them are pretty easy. So, like these Lamia Queens. Good place to potentially get a second ribbon. Like I said, the Lamia Queens have 5% drop. There's Death Riders as well. They drop ribbons at 5%. So probably the only piece of equipment that we'd really like to get. We will get a second ribbon later on. Actually, we'll get it later on. It's the treasure on the way to toward the Emperor. Like I said, there's that room with the 4 doors. The door that takes you to the Emperor, the treasure chest in that doorway is the ribbon. So we'll be going to get that one first, just to get the ribbon, because it's such a good piece of equipment. That'll go right on Maxine, unless we get a ribbon from one of the Lamia Queens of the Death Riders. So, the third ribbon, whether it's from that box or from a dropped item, that would end up going on Leon. So, Booker has no need for the ribbon because he already has all the protection from all the elements from the Dragon, Mail, and the Aegis Shield combination. So, like I said, there'll be a lot of, you know, wide open areas, but they're straightforward, so no way to get lost, really. Between floors, we'll mainly be taking these teleporters, but you can always use the warp spell. I'll actually be using the warp spell quite a bit to warp back, just to avoid some of the tougher enemies. Got an ether there. Put that on there so Fess can use it in the next battle. So, the evil coral enemies. I keep they always scare me. Like I said, I keep thinking of them in the Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy IV the After Years, where their blaster attack can actually cause instant death. Here it just paralyzes your character, so it's not as bad, but it's an old fear, so that I have. No matter how many times I tell myself, it's okay, they're safe. It's like I have just all those lingering memories from those enemies. So, I guess I had a bad thing there, because usually Booker and Leon can take them out with one of their hits, but one of them must have rolled low. So, yeah, Leon is a pretty good frontline fighter. That's why we're not making him be a bow user. I guess he could function as a bow user if we wanted to, but the main reason we use bow users for everybody else was to help build up the hit points of Fess and Booker, and to build their evasion. But now we're pretty much set. Like I said, eventually your stats will basically stop growing because of the ranks and how fast you can defeat enemies. The only way you'd be able to get your stats up pretty much higher than, you know, say 8, 9, or 10 is if you purposely hurt yourself by using like a weaker weapon, so that you'd have to be relying on critical hits. Because otherwise, you'll take the enemies out too quick to have them survive multiple rounds to get you the extra points needed to raise your skills. So here we're in a floor here. We're going to split this one off. This is actually a floor that we're going to end up using warp on, because we go south to get some treasure, and then rather than backtrack to head to north, which is the way you have to go to proceed in the dungeon, we'll just use the warp to get back, and that'll save us, like I said, some walking. Like I said, for the most part, stats ain't really going to be going up too much here. And if they do go up, you're only looking at potentially like one level, except for something like maybe Flare, because that's such a low level. It's still below the level of the enemies that we're fighting. But for stuff like, you know, Booker's sword and shield level, even Fess and his knife level, probably not going to get too much. Now, Fess has 2 knives, so actually he's kind of getting double points there. But that's the only real advantage of dual wielding in this game. It's not like the next game, Final Fantasy III, where dual wielding will give you double damage. So it's really only calculating the damage based on your regular weapon. I mean, that's coded because with shields can technically kind of be a weapon in this game, or considered a weapon type. So no real advantage to dual wielding other than, like I said, getting your stats up twice as fast. But we're just using the only reason I'm dual wielding the knives is because I don't have a better sword to give Fess comparative to the cat claw, which is, like I said, the strongest knife. So that gives them just a little bit more damage, and it also, the cat claw has a much lower penalty to his magic. Swords tend to have about 40% magic penalty, where the knives only have 5. Shields have that whopping 70, which is why eventually we ended up switching Fess from using a shield as his defensive item to using that Mangoche knife, which is apparently like a parrying knife for like dueling. Kind of a staple in Final Fantasies from here on out. Hey, we got an elixir there, a free elixir, nice. So have Fess heal some folks up there. We took quite a bit of damage there. So, yeah, battles seem to be like you'll either take a lot of damage or get unlucky, or you'll get lucky and avoid most of the attacks. Flare close to level 5 there. Grab this one little treasure chest. Of course, get into another encounter. Queen Lamia and the Quall. Both of them are, like I said, annoying enemies. So I guess we'll talk more a little bit. I said I'd do a little bit more of the review from the last episode. Like I said, I think this is probably, like I said, replaying. Probably, like I said, maybe my favorite of the first 3 Final Fantasies. Like I said, I enjoy really the leveling system. I enjoy the fact that you don't necessarily have to do, you know, any stopping and grinding. That's what kind of sets Final Fantasy 1 down a little bit for me. There's a few places where you, particularly like the Marsh Cave, right before the Marsh Cave, where you kind of had to stop everything that you're doing and just build up your levels. So kind of stop the flow of the game. This one, you never really had to do that. You're always able to just, you know, keep going forward, pushing forward. Final Fantasy 3 does a pretty decent job with that too. There might be only 1 or 2 places where you have to stop and level. And those places, when you do have to level, are usually very, you know, very short. That's one of the things that the future Final Fantasies get pretty well at, is not forcing you to level grind. Level grinding seems to be more of a staple of the Dragon Quest series, which I will start once I finish Final Fantasy 3 for the Nintendo Famicom system. So yeah, those games will play out a lot differently. Those games are still going popular, just like the Final Fantasy series. I think they released. They said they're going to release a 12th one soon. Well, they announced the 12th one. I said I played up to 9. Didn't play all of them totally up to 9. I played everyone totally up to 6, and those will all be played eventually on this stream. Well, not this stream, but this channel. So you got a chance to see them. Those games, unlike the Final Fantasy games, are like, I guess, more traditional. Where Final Fantasy seems to change, usually like every game. The Dragon Quest seems to be more traditional, so it's not much difference from, like, Dragon Quest 1, Dragon Quest 2, Dragon Quest 3, and you'll kind of see that. I mean, yeah, there's some innovations, like 2 finally gives you a party, but monsters tend to stay the same, music tends to stay the same. The combat is basically, the turn-based turn-based things where Final Fantasy, starting with 4, will start going into the active time battle system where characters and enemies are constantly having an agility bar fill up, and then they act when their agility bar fills up. So battles are more active. It's not like everyone takes a turn and then you re-input commands. The combat is more fluid. Both series are pretty good. I probably would favor, Dragon Quest out of all of them, even though Dragon Quest tends to be more level grinding heavy. But the simplicity of the system is really, really nice. Basically, when you get a Dragon Quest game, you know what you're getting. Where Final Fantasies can be hit or miss, or I guess up to the first 6, I guess they were all pretty good, and then I think they started catering to a new audience. They started going more Western audience with like 7 and the 3D graphics. So that's when I kind of lost steam in them. So here's this big room. We're going to take the 4 passages. This is the room. This passageway takes us to the end game, to the Emperor. But we're going to go into it first because this is the one that has the ribbon. The other ones have the Genji gear, the armor, the helmet, and the gauntlets. And another one also has the best sword in the game, the Maxine, that Fess is going to get. But that's the one we're going to go to last because that's the longest of the passageways. So we'll end up just getting the other gear first. Each of the Genji gears and this ribbon that we're about to get here is going to be guarded by a mini-boss, a one-time mini-boss. These mini-bosses that we fight here will not come back to be random encounters in later floors in Castle Pandemonium, unlike the ones that we fought in the Jade Passes, like the King Behemoth, and I think it was the Blue Dragon. So these guys are one and done. But I guess it makes sense when we see actually what the enemies are. So we should see them pretty shortly here. Just ran into more of these Lamia Queens and Quarrel enemies. Good old kitties. These ain't good kitties. They're bad kitties because they, especially in future games, like I said. So finish off the Queen Lamia. Nope, a bunch of gold there, so we know that, no ribbon. That's okay, we're gonna get our second ribbon here. We just walk through this little, hole there, and we get our second ribbon. That'll go on Maxine, but first we have to take out Astaroth here. Astaroth is, in demonology, he's one of the, 3, great dukes of hell, the others being Beelzebub and Lucifer. Beelzebub we will actually fight too. He's another one of these chest guardians. Lucifer, of course, being the name for Satan, the angel of light. Lucifer is like light bearer. He was the angel who fell, who would become Satan. So I guess they just didn't put him here because he's probably more well known. But yeah, we do fight Astaroth and Beelzebub. So Astaroth will make another appearance in Ultima 5, end up eventually doing those games as well. Ultimas 1 through 6, I'll end up playing them. But Astaroth is the name of the Shadow Lord of Hatred in Ultima 5. So eventually I will get to them. Ugh. So there's one bad thing about Astaroth here. He has that Death 16 spell. You don't have the protection from death like Fess and Booker do. Yeah, it's probably gonna hit. So 16 castings, and he has pretty much enough magic that it's probably gonna hurt. So a lot of these enemies do have maxed out spells, including the Emperor. Beelzebub, I think, has Flare 16, so that's pretty painful. But we have our life spell. Fess worked that up, so he doesn't have much of a penalty to his magic, because he's only using those 2 knives, so he should be able to easily get anyone who gets knocked out back on their feet. One way that you can make a lot of these mini-bosses, including the Emperor, easier is to osmose them a whole bunch of times. They have 5. As you see, they have I'll put their MP up for all of them. Astaroth only has 540 MP, so you can probably drain that in about 4 uses of osmose, and then he's just reliant then on his physical attacks. So, and a lot of our characters have pretty high evasion. He only has 8 attacks, so you can probably dodge most of them. These enemies also can drop some pretty good equipment, but nothing that's necessary. We don't need any of the equipment they drop, but if they do, it's just an extra bonus. So let's finally give Maxine that death resistance that she needs. So now she's set. She had a lot of elemental resistances thanks to the dragon shield, but she didn't have like the mind, matter, body, and death resistance that she needed. So the ribbon finally gives her that, so she's going to be much better at surviving. So she is the squishiest of our characters, because she was put in the back row, so she was gaining all those hit points and stuff. So now I did forget one enemy, so we'll start off at the beginning of the next episode, back there at the entrance to the 3rd room. But yeah, I totally missed this enemy, so I made a save there at the end of that section, and just went back here to encounter this enemy. I thought I could meet it somewhere else, but then when I checked the bestiary, I was like, oh wait, nope. It only appears on the floor, the 1st and 2nd floor, so thought I'd just do a little break there to show off this final enemy. Nothing special about him. The Mantis Devil there. I guess the only thing special to consider about him is maybe that unlike much of the other Mantises type enemies that we encountered, this one is not weak to ice. So just hit it with whatever, including Leon's swords, and you'll be able to take it out fairly easily. So like I said, I just did that work back there to show off that last enemy, so I can show off all the enemies. And we'll pick up outside the entrance to the 3rd room where we got that ribbon in our next episode. Take care, thanks for following along. Bye.